this one?
It's on the table. That one.
Okay. Can you grab the English or no?
You can grab the English.
Should I grab?
But no, just stay with
Okay,
the
I'll
Hebrew.
just stay with you.
Explaining,
Okay.
right?
I'll learn some Hebrew.
Page 29. Ashivenu Hashem Elecha V'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu K'kedem Ashivenu Hashem Elecha V'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu K'kedem So there's a particularly powerful piece of Reb Shlomo, and it's from this week's parsha. It's called "The Tragedy of Cain and Abel." It's on YouTube. It's a 5-minute piece. It's really worthwhile seeing. Okay, page 29. Nilmad Yachad Torah me'Rabbi HaKadosh Mislonim from the Divrei Shmuel. We'll learn a few holy words from the Holy Slonim Rabbi. So this entire lesson over here that we spoke about last night, it's about why does the Torah have to tell us the word Bereishit, right? Somebody, I think it's that by the way? No? Yeah, just not coming in.
I don't know.
Which Shechida are you in?
Modin Zadeh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of ugly.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah. Same as
So-
Rami.
Huh?
You know Rami.
Yeah.
Who brought me here?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
as her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rami Diamond.
Yeah.
You know, her father is the only U.S. soldier that ever managed to get those top 2 levels of. So she'll tell you about it.
I've heard stories, but not everything. It's hard to get information from her.
Yeah.
What did he get?
No, he went to the top in 2 different divisions,
And Navy SEALs.
and the other one I don't know. Yeah. Nobody's ever done both.
Really?
Nobody, yeah.
Yeah, he's something.
Have a seat. Okay, so the question is why does the Torah say the word Bereishit? If you would just say, God's created heaven and earth, and then everyone would ask you, okay, Avi, when did God do it? The answer is obvious, in the beginning, right? And the Torah doesn't have any extra words, so why does it have to say Bereishit? So the whole Tikkunei Zohar, and the whole Tikkunei Zohar, why is it confusing?
Because it's before there was time. So Bereishit, the beginning of what if there wasn't really time to start with?
Right.
So how could we even understand that concept?
I heard an interpretation that Bereishit he created beginning.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, so here's the explanation from the Slonimer.
29.
Page 29. Bereishit bara, oh, by the way, the book that we're learning is called Reb Shlomo. This is Reb Shlomo's teachings on Bereishit. So, Bereishit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Kal lirot, it's easy to see Bereishit, שהמילה בראשית פירושה הרבה מעבר להתחלה בלבד. It's obvious that the word Bereishit means much more than just the beginning. כמובן, כל מילה בתורה חשובה. Obviously, every word in the Torah is important, אבל תארו לעצמכם, but just imagine that, שהשם היה מדלג על המילה הזאת, imagine if God would leave this, would have skipped over this word. ראשית, פירושה ההתחלה, ראשית means the beginning, אבל השם היה יכול להגיד תחילה, God could have said תחילה, or פשוט, ראשית, or could have said simply ראשית, right? המילה בראשית מלמדת אותנו שהבריאה הייתה בשביל הראשית. So one of the meanings of in Hebrew when you say, when you put a bet in front of the word, is bishvil, because of, right? So bishvil hareshit, because of the beginning. והעסק מקבל כבר טעם אחר לגמרי. So now the topic takes on a whole other flavor. השם ברא את השמיים ואת הארץ בשביל ההתחלה. God created heaven and earth for the sake of the beginning. מה פירוש הדבר? What does that mean? המדרש מפרט מי נקראים ראשית. The Medrash details who is considered, who are the ones that are called ראשית. שתי המילים האלו, ישראל נקראים ראשית, the Jews are called ראשית, וגם התפילה נקראת ראשית, and also prayer is called ראשית. שתי המילים האלו פותחות לנו אלפי שערים, and these two words are opening up thousands of doors, thousands of gates for us. And this lesson is so important, what he's going to give us now. יש כל מיני דרכים להאמין באלוקים. There's all kinds of ways to come to believing in God. ישנם למשל המלומדים. For example, there are the scholars. הם מבזבזים זמן יקר על לימודי תיאולוגיה באוניברסיטה. They waste a lot of precious time studying theology in university. יושבים שם בשיעורים וחושבים שזה הדבר האמיתי. And they sit there and they think this is the real thing. אולי הם באמת חוו חוויות אמיתיות. Maybe they actually did have some real experiences. והם מכירים בכך שיש רק כל אחד, and they recognize that there's just one God. אבל זו הייתה רק המסקנה הסופית של הלימוד שלהם. But that's the final conclusion that they came to through their studies. בסיכומו של חשבון, after all their studies and analysis, they came to the conclusion, and kaltu shashem echad, they got it, that God is one. Hem mitukim, they're sweet, אבל לא בשביל זה נברא העולם. But that's not why the world was created. In other words, your neshama didn't have to come down to this world to find out that there's one God. Your neshama knew that very well before coming down to this world. הם לא באמת מתחברים לשורש הבריאה. They're not really connecting to the root of the creation. משהו חסר, something is missing. And what is that root of the creation? That's what he's getting into. Okay? אתם יודעים בשביל מי ברא השם את העולם? Do you know for whom God created the world? בשביל הראשית. He created the world for the beginning, for the beginning. Hasechel sheli eino hareshit. My mind, my intelligence, is not the beginning. Yesh mashu yoter amok mimeno. There's something deeper than my mind. Etzem hareshit sheli, my essence beginning, hapnimiyut sheli, my innermost essence, amukam in hasechel, is deeper than my intelligence. A child is born, right? And their intelligence is just beginning to develop. So what's there before? Right? There's some kind of an essence. There's a deeper essence to our being, which precedes intelligence. Now, if you're going to ask anybody on Broadway or Fifth Avenue, they're going to say, "What are you talking about?" Okay? But the child already has an essence soul, right? Let's say I love somebody very much. And you ask me, if you were to ask me, why do I love this person? Ashiv the Elef Sibat, and I'll give you 1,000 reasons. Im zot shuvati, and if that's my answer, I love this person because of this, because of this, and because of that. Siman sheineni ohev be'emet et ha'adam hazeh. That's proof, that's a sign that I don't really love this person. Eizu min ahava zo, what kind of love is that? Shetzrichim siba avura, that you need a reason to explain why you're loving this person. Im yesh bi ma'at nimus, if I would have a little bit more politeness, Omar, I would say, Eineni yodea, I don't know why I love this person. Ani pashut ohev ma'od et ha'adam hazeh, I simply love this person. Zot kvar madriga groha. That's already a very high level. Aval lo hachi gavoa. It's not the highest. Hadavar ha'amiti hu, the real thing is, me'ever le'i hayediah sheli, beyond my subconscious. Amok yoter afilu me'i hayediah, madua ani ohev. The love is deeper than my subconscious. In other words, it's knowing why I love you is like the lowest level. Not knowing why I love you is a step up. Beyond not knowing why is the highest. So he's going to explain, what?
Can you say that again?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing why I love you is the lowest level.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing why I love you is a step up. And the highest is not even, that is even beyond not knowing. So he's going to explain what that means, right? He's going to, yeah. So I'm asking you to open your heart. ישנם דברים שדרוש זמן ללמוד ולדעת אותם. There are things that take time to learn and to know. דרוש זמן לגדול, it takes time to grow. דרוש זמן לחשוב, it takes time to think. וישנם דברים שאם דרוש לי זמן עבורם, but then there are things that if I need time for them, אני מחמיץ את העניין. Then I am, how are you going to say mahmis in English? As in,
Missing out.
Sort of, mahmis is from the word chametz, right?
Going bad.
It sours. It spoils. Okay? הם פשוט אינם שייכים למעמד הזמן. There are things that just don't belong to the dimension of time. כדי לדעת דרוש זמן. To know something takes time, אבל כדי להאמין, but to believe, לא דרוש זמן, doesn't take time. אתה מאמין, או שאינך מאמין. You either believe or you don't believe. ואל תשלה את עצמך. And don't fool yourself. גם אהבה אינה זקוקה לזמן. Love also doesn't need time, doesn't take time. אתה אוהב או שאינך אוהב. You do love or you don't love. אתם מבינים, you understand? יש דבר עמוק יותר מאמונה. There's something deeper than belief. זה פשוט נכון כל כך עבורי לאהוב. This is so true for me to love. ולכן זה, in other words, you're on a level where it's just so clear that you're loving, right? ולכן זה מעבר לדבר אחר. It's beyond everything else. אפילו מעבר לאמונה, it's even beyond faith. זוהי הראשית. That is the beginning. עצם הראשית. That is the essence of the beginning. ההתחלה של ההתחלה של ההתחלה שלי is the beginning of the beginning of my beginning. I once read a story that there was this, I don't remember the name, this psychiatrist or some kind of doctor was a member of a conservative shul, and he started becoming Orthodox. And he asked the Lubavitcher Rebbe, should he leave the shul and switch right now? The Rebbe said not yet. You still have work to do there. So the shul was looking for a new rabbi, and they had a search committee, and they put him onto the search committee also. And he says, whenever they interviewed a candidate, he only had one question. And his question was, do you believe in God? And he would carry a stopwatch with him, and he would turn on the stopwatch just to see how long is it going to take this guy to answer this question. And like some would say, well, what do you mean by God? If you mean this, if you mean that. And he would say, I just asked you a simple question. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in God? Right? Ask yourself, do I believe in God? And so if you have to figure out, well, if it means this, if it means that, or this and that, then maybe you have some level of belief, but it's not yet like the real thing. It's not the essence belief. Okay? Do you love me? Well, I give you coffee every day, and then I do this, I clean the house. Oh yeah, I guess I love you. You love what I do for you. It's a love that's dependent on something. It's not the essence thing. Shlomo used to say sometimes guys would ask him, should I marry this girl or not? So he'd say, if you can explain to me why you want to marry her, I can convince you to marry somebody else. Right? If you can tell me why you want to marry Chaim Yankel or Moses or whoever, right? Then somebody can convince you, no, I got somebody better for you, somebody more appropriate. But if you say, this is my soulmate, and even if the guy is like not the greatest guy, nobody's going to convince you to change your mind. Right? So that's my deepest essence is, our deepest essence is to be loving. And it's even deeper than faith. The fact that we're not like that all the time is an issue. Okay? So that's the Bereishit. So mehechan zeba. So where does that come from? Zeba mi'omek haneshama sheli. It comes from the depths of my soul. Kol davar sheba mi'omek haneshama sheli everything that's coming from the essence, from the deepest essence of my soul, hu b'madriga shel Reshit, that's on the level of Reshit, the beginning. Haguf lo ha'atchala sheli, the body is not my beginning. Ella haneshama, it's my soul that is my beginning. Yesh makom ba'olam, there's a place in the world. Makom b'chayim shelanu, a place in our lives. Makom b'tochenu, a place within us. Shehu ha'reshit shelanu, which is our beginning. V'tamid b'chol davar she'anu osim, and anything that we're doing, we always have to ask ourselves, Aleinu lishol, we need to ask ourselves, Mehechan ba ha'maaseh hazeh, where is this coming from? Why am I doing my homework? Calvin and Hobbes, Or why am I doing this? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from my deepest essence, or is it coming from some kind of an excuse? Doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just, it could have an excuse, but it's just a way of checking out.
Avoiding the truth.
It's a way of checking out, am I in touch with my deepest essence?
If I understand you correctly, what he's saying here, that Hashem created Bereishit, or with Bereishit, he created something within the human being. And we're not talking so much about creation of the heaven and earth. We're more created about what he created within us.
He grew for us to be in touch with that beginning.
For us. So this is more talking about what it is to man rather than this in terms of the physical universe.
Yeah, but you have to understand that we're talking about different layers of interpretation here. You understand? It's not like X instead of Y.
It's X and also Y and also Z.
Okay. So Rabbi Shlomo Meir, the Shlomo Rebbe says, שאם האמונה שלך בהשם אינה באה מהמקום הזה שנקרא ראשית, if your faith in God is not coming from the place, you know where I am, Abby?
Somewhere here.
Right here.
So if your faith in God is not coming from that place which we call ראשית, זה אולי מתוק, maybe it's sweet. אבל לא בשבילך ברא השם את העולם. But it's not for you that God created the world. In other words, of course, everybody is obligated to say that the world was created for my sake. But
Could we say that again? If my faith in God is not coming
if
from
my
Bereishit?
faith in God is not coming from that space of Bereishit, the beginning, in other words, like you were saying before, I read a couple of good books, and I was convinced that yes, there is a God. That's not the place of Bereishit. Okay, so it's sweet, but it's not for that God created the world. It's not for you to discover God in that way, or only in that way. It could be a beginning. אתם יודעים מה משמעות הדבר? You know what this means? אתה מאמין באלוקים, you believe in God, אתה מתבונן בעולם, you meditate on the world, ורואה עצים ושקיעה, you see trees and you see the sunset, ומדמיין לעצמך, and you imagine that you're seeing, שאתה רואה את הקדוש ברוך הוא, you're imagining that you're seeing the Holy One, blessed be He. B'toch ha'etzim, you're seeing God in the trees. אבל אין זו האמת, but that's not the truth. אתה חושב שאתה רואה. You think that you're seeing God in the trees. אבל באמת אתה מתחבר לידע ולנתונים. But really what you're doing is you're connecting to information and to facts. אתה עושה חשבון, you're making a calculation. שיש השם אחד, that there must be one God, ושיש גם עץ בעולם, and that there's also trees in the world. אז אחד ועוד אחד הם שניים. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. ומי שברא את העץ, and who is it that created the trees? Who Hashem is God. זו כבר האחרית, that's the end. זו השורה התחתונה, that's the bottom line. But לא הראשית, that's not the beginning point. הראשית עמוקה הרבה יותר. The beginning point is a lot deeper. הסקת מסקנות, reaching conclusions, ונגיעה בראשית, compared to touching the beginning, הם שני דברים שונים לחלוטין. These are two absolutely different things. זו כוונת המדרש. And this is what the Medrash is out to say, Omer Rabbi Mislonim, says the Slonim Rabbi. Hashem bara et haolam b'shvil Yisrael, God created the world for the Yidden. Ki Abraham Avinu higia lamadriga hazo, because Abraham Avinu reached this level, she'amin b'Hashem b'bchinat Bereishit. Bereishit. That Abraham Avinu reached this level that he believed in God on the level of Bereishit, of the very beginning. Okay, I gotta take a drink. I'm sorry, I'm just too many nights of staying up late. Okay.
You want some more?
Thank you. So, let's understand that. I doubt that any one of you, including myself, ever heard such a deep teaching about Bereishit like we're learning right now, right? You went to Jewish school, right? When your teacher spoke to you about God, what did they do? They didn't speak about God?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Which school did you go to?
Finlandia's.
In Boston?
Yeah.
For sure they must have spoken about God.
They did. It's been a while.
Actually, I used to teach at a Solomon Schechter school in Montreal, conservative school. And there were a couple of years, like, when I was going through separation and divorce, I could not speak about Hashem with any love, so I just actually didn't speak about God. I can't, honestly, Aryeh, you going somewhere?
Yeah, I'm going to Leonardo.
Okay. You have an appointment?
No, I just met Shlomo. I went and saw the yeshiva, and now I'm going to go down there and see if I can get tickets for Shabbos.
Okay. If you have a few more minutes, sit down.
I need to run over there real quick.
Okay.
I'll catch you.
Okay. So,
You weren't able to speak about God.
then Baruch Hashem, my life started getting better, and I met Judy and got engaged. Anyway, one day, or it was before I got engaged, and one day I said something about Hashem in class. There's always a certain level of chatter in schools. It's not like it used to be when your mother went to school and nobody was allowed to say anything, And all of a sudden, the entire class went totally silent, and everybody turned to hear, he's finally talking about what we want to hear about, finally, and it was amazing. It was like, in other words, what happened there? And it wasn't an intellectual thing on their part. In other words, I said something, and it was sincere, and their neshamas, like right away, stopped all the other stuff and said, "This is what we're here for." Okay.
How do you know that's what it was?
That's the only explanation I got. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Had I been talking about Hashem on an intellectual level, they would have continued with their chatter.
So what do you do from then on?
It was a very poignant moment, and I was able to talk about Hashem again. There's Hashem. There's a story that once Reb Shlomo said that why is it that so many Jewish kids started going to the East, in the 60s and the 70s and so on. And he said that basically all our Jewish teachers, or most of our Jewish teachers, had become tamei, ritually impure as a result of the Holocaust. And nobody was able to talk about God with love. So Hashem sent some teachers from the East who were able to talk about God with love. Problem is that along with the real ones, with the holy ones, there also came a lot of very unholy ones. And the difference between the holy ones and the not holy ones is that the holy ones would take Jewish kids, and after a year or two, they would say to them, and I know some of them personally, they would say, I've taught you what I've got to teach you. You're Jewish, go home and be a Jew. The unholy ones would sink their claws into them and do their best never to let them go. Okay?
What do you mean?
What I mean is, like, literally, they didn't want the Jews to go back and be Jews. Okay? And I knew some of those too, As a matter of fact, we used to go for summer vacation in the Laurentians. And so on Fridays, I would drive down there was an ashram a few miles away. I'd been there with Shlomo. We would drive down, and there were a lot of Israelis there. So I'd go down there and I'd invite some people to come for a Shabbos meal, Now, the people working there did not like this at all, like, what's he doing here? But in any case, we did get to invite a couple of people. And then one day I went down there, it was already September. And during July and August, they always had lots of groups there. I walked in there and only the staff was there. Like the regulars were there. They didn't have any groups that weekend. And sitting there is Swami Vishnu, the guru of the place, and he sees me. So he calls me over. Shalom. Calls me over. So I go over. He says, what are you doing here? I said, I came to say shalom to some people. He says, well, you should say shalom to everybody. I said, yeah, I do. So then he tells somebody to bring me some food. Now, Shlomo had warned me about him. He and Sachidananda were both students by their master. Sachidananda, Shlomo said, was a holy guy, but this guy, he said, watch out. This guy's evil. So I figured, you know what? I'm not going to beat around the bush. So anybody here Jewish? I asked him. He says, I don't know. I don't ask them if they're Jewish. He was a big liar. Then this one guy is walking by. He says, oh, he's Jewish. And we started inviting that guy. That guy had already adopted a slave mentality to this guy. Yeah, mamish. And we did everything we could to get him to step out of there. I don't know where he is today. It's years. I hope he's gotten out of there. But the holy ones, like for example, David Zeller, all of a sudden, he went and he was with the guru for an entire year. After the year, the guru says, okay, go home and be Jewish. And he was shocked. Okay. There's a Yid in Toronto who's a big wrestler of Chassid now. He was 12 years in Zen, and he became a master. And one day his guru says to him, I want you to study Japanese culture. And he says, why? When I came to you, I asked you if culture was important, and you said it was not important. So he says, it is important. So he says, well, if culture is important, I have a culture. Why? And he ended up becoming the breast of a chassid. He teaches Reb Nachman, lives in Toronto. He's a lawyer, brilliant guy, tzaddik, you know. So the thing is like this, that if I'm being a yid, you know, because I've come to the conclusion, right? Yeah, there are trees. Somebody had to create the trees. And that's the way Maimonides describes like the journey towards getting to know Hashem. Right? It's like, as a matter of fact, on V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha, right? What does the Rambam say? How could the Torah tell you to love God? So he actually says, study math, study astronomy, study these things, right? And you'll see, like, wow, this is such an amazing universe, right? And you'll naturally fall in love with God.
Because it's beyond.
Right? But that's the beginning.
It's beyond the beginning.
I'm saying, but that is the beginning of the journey. Understand?
As an end.
As an end, the end of your intelligence, led you to, right? But if you stop there, then that's the end, you know. But so it's okay, but you got to realize, no, it's much deeper than that. Okay? So he says, Zo kavanat midrash. That's what the Medrash, the two-line paragraph in the middle of the page. Zo kavanat midrash. This is what the Medrash is saying. Omer Rabbi Mislonim, the Slonim explains. Shashem barat haolam b'shvil Yisrael. God created the world for the Yidden. Why? Ki Avraham Avinu higia lamadriga hazo, because Avraham Avinu reached this level. She'amin b'Hashem b'bchinat Bereishit. He believed in God on the level of beginning. Everything is a beginning. Okay? When Reb Shlomo, and I had many opportunities, Baruch Hashem, to be around Reb Shlomo, and I don't mean to be putting anybody down, but there were people that would come from all kinds of backgrounds, and people who, some of them couldn't stand each other. And when they were in Reb Shlomo's presence, they were hugging and loving and wonderful. What happened? Because in his presence, like, people got in touch with the beginning. You know, just because I might have been whatever I was until now, but now is the beginning. Now we're in touch with the beginning. Okay.
But if we
One Friday night, Judy and I were by Reb Shlomo. This is back in 1982. And it was the Shabbos after Pesach. And I'd never been by Shlomo on the Shabbos. Anyway, there was this guy there that Shlomo said, do me a favor. Sit with him. Keep him near you and keep your eye on him.
So it's you.
Yeah. And like, you know, sort of keep him a little bit distant. This guy was wearing, like, you know, a leather jacket with chains. I'm sure he must have had a couple of brass knuckles in his pockets, maybe a couple of switchblades too. It was like mamish, a tough guy with boots and everything. And Shlomo said, like, you know, just keep him calm. And I did. The guy was a beautiful guy, but his beauty was trapped inside whatever, I don't know, I didn't know his story, okay? But you see, there are some places where a guy like that would come in and they would say, first take all that garbage off before you can come in. Okay? That's not beginning. Beginning is to be able to relate with the person in such a way that with all their garbage, you can connect with their, you can connect with and you can connect their beginning.
So my question is, if you keep that focus and you're always trying to be at that place of the beginning, wouldn't it come back and harm you at the end of the day? Because
Why?
you're always going to the beginning instead of moving forward.
No. You're always moving forward from the beginning. It's like, I'll give you an example. Rabbi once told us.
But when everyone's not at the same beginning, it's
but
not.
the real beginning, everyone's at the same beginning. Let me give you, Rabbi said that when the student would come to the yeshiva of the Vilna Gaon, and he wanted to become a student there, so what the Gaon would do is to say, okay, take any Gemara and sit down and prepare a few lines. And at some point I'll call you and we'll talk about it. And these were big scholars to begin with, who would come in to study by the Vilna Gaon. So what the Gaon was really doing is he was watching to see how was this guy looking in the Gemara after a half an hour of preparation? How was he looking after 40 minutes? How was he looking after an hour? And did he at some point sort of like say, oh, I've gone over this 10 times, I know it, and I'm finished? Or did he actually say, oh, wow, let's do it again. Oh, wow, it's even deeper. Oh, wow, there's even more. You understand? Was he always beginning again? You know what I mean? Or was he saying, oh, I figured it out, I know it. And if somebody was sitting there with the attitude of like, I figured it out, I know it, he wouldn't get accepted into the yeshiva. Because the truth is that those who are learning are like mamish seeing something new all the time. All this form you see in this room is just a tiny fraction of what there is. There's a website you can, I think it's called torahbooks.com or .org. You have over 40,000 svarim there on that website that you can download. You know, it's and every week there's another 2 or 3 new svarim coming out. How much is there? How much more can you discover in the Torah? How much more can you discover? How much more can you discover? Infinite. Okay. But if you sit down to learn with the attitude of, yeah, I've learned this already 3 times, I'm not going to really learn anything new, okay, then you're not going to learn anything new.
It's not just learning Torah, it's an approach to life.
Yes, of course. That's Bereishit, yeah.
It's an approach to marriage, approach to everything.
Yeah. Correct. So that's one. Then he says, "V'midrash omer shegam tefillah hi reshit." The Medrash says that prayer is also called reshit. Tefillah perusha lashuv v'lechaber et hareshit sheli im Hashem. What is prayer? It means to return and connect my reshit with God. Ze kol inyana shel tefillah. That's the whole thing about prayer, is to connect my reshit, my beginning, with God. If you're davening on the aspect of the end, then you're just asking God for favors. Sure, we ask God for livelihood and for health, etc., right? But real davening is much higher than that. We do, and no. יש פה משהו הרבה יותר עמוק. There's something much deeper here. מהי המשמעות של, now Reb Shlomo always brought it down to the level of relationships between people. מהי המשמעות של קרבה בין שני אנשים? What does it mean when two people are close to each other? פירושה, that means, שברובד מאוד עמוק, but on a very deep level, on a very deep layer, שתי הרשויות שלהם מתחברות. The beginnings of these two people are connected. גם אנשי עסקים מתחברים זה לזה. Business people also make connections with each other. אבל הם מחוברים באחרית. They're connecting at the end. לא בראשית. They're connecting at the end, you know, like from the perspective of the end, from the perspective of this world. They're not connecting on a deep level of their essence. ועוד דבר חשוב, and another important thing, ישנם מקומות שעליהם הרוע אינו יכול לחדור. There are places that evil cannot penetrate. הרוע יכול להגיע עד גבול מסוים בלבד. Evil can only get so far. הוא יכול להגיע חס ושלום אל השכל שלי. Evil can get to my mind. או להוליך שולל את...
You say שולל?
להוליך שולל את הרגשות שלי, or he can lead my emotions into... What's the English word I want here? He can rob me of being in touch with my emotions.
Lead me on.
Lead me on.
Lead me on.
אבל הרוע אינו יכול להשחית את הראשית שלי. But evil cannot ruin my beginning. פשוט מפני שאין לו ראשית, because evil doesn't have the same beginning as everything else. רוע קשור תמיד לאחרית. Evil is always connected to the end product. מה עושה הרע? What does evil do? הוא מקרב אותך לסוף. Evil brings you closer to the end. פירוש הדבר, meaning to say, שיש בתוכי מקום שלעולם לא יוכל להיות מושחת. It means to say that there's a place in me that can never be corrupted. My deepest essence cannot be corrupted. אתם יודעים, חברים יקרים, you know, my precious friends, מה זאת אהבה בין שני אנשים? You know what love is between two people? כשהראשית שלי והראשית שלו, and my beginning and his beginning, שנשארו בטהרתן, that have remained in their purity, הן ממש מתחברות ומתקשרות, they really connect and bond. What did you say?
Everybody's reshit will always be pure.
Right,
Because
but not everybody's in touch with it.
Right. So that connects to the question I asked earlier. If let's say I'm connected to my reshit and I try being as loving and as close to the beginning as possible, but the people around me are not, I'll end up getting hurt.
Oh, so that's what you're talking about. You might. That's why you need to have good friends. Okay. And that's why you have to keep on working at maintaining and improving your consciousness. The Talmud says two words, Avir Po'el. The air of the atmosphere that you're breathing has an effect on you. In other words, we're talking about sociologically, right? You hang around in the wrong group of people, they're going to affect you in a negative way. You hang around in a good group of people, you're going to be affected in a positive way. Now, when Reb Nachman teaches in Azamra the importance of looking at the Nekudat Tova, that is the aspect of Reshit. So it doesn't mean that you should go and seek out a lousy social group, right? But if you happen to find yourself in a room with a bunch of people that are not interested in this kind of stuff, that we're connecting with Bereishit, right? If you do it while you're there and while you're speaking to anybody, you will see that their neshamas will respond.
Anyone who's
So-
with Shlomo would know that.
Not just with Shlomo, yeah, but that's true. The neshamas would respond. So that's Bereishit. God created the world for the sake of the Jewish people who know the secret of connecting with the Bereishit. So I'm going to stop over here because I just gosh me this. I need to go lie down. You know what sleep apnea is?
Mm-hmm. You have it?
Yeah, I have sleep apnea.
Right.
It's I don't use a mask, not yet. I have a deviated septum. There's different kinds of. You hear that?
I also do.
So,
Well, I need nose surgery.
yeah. So therefore, it's naturally easier for me to breathe through my mouth.
Mm.
Some of my pictures, like from when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, all my pictures are like that. You know, just say, oh, this is not very good looking that way. So I consciously made sure that during the day I breathe through my nose. Okay, but at night I naturally start to breathe through my mouth, and sometimes the tongue falls to the back, and I actually stop breathing for as long as 3 minutes. Which means that during that time the blood isn't oxygenating properly, and the brain isn't getting its oxygen. So so I've slept, but I didn't get the full benefit. So sometimes, like, you know, if I went to sleep particularly late, and if I didn't sleep particularly well, this time of day, I actually avoid driving. And I had a miracle one day. I was driving from New York back to Montreal, and all of a sudden, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the police's siren comes on and stops me. I say, why'd you stop me? So he says, you know, I was following you. You were driving 60 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you went up to 93. I had fallen asleep, and my foot just pressed the pedal down. So it cost me $150, but it was cheaper. It was cheaper than going. Well worth it. He saved my life. Okay, friends, we're having Shabbos Shulis in Mr. Shem. If you're around on Shabbos, okay.
Can I ask you just one question?
Yeah.
This book is a translation.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you teach it in Hebrew?
Because it's a yeshiva, and I want people to learn Hebrew and to know how to open up a sefer.
Okay.
Good reason?
Yeah, very good. I once gave a siyum. I was in a place where no one had never been in siyum before Pesach. And I'm a Bechor. So I gave the siyum I gave was on the Haggadah of Shlomo.
Call till. Be well. Are you around Shabbos? You're going home? What are you doing?
I'm probably going to be here.